we're back.
Attaboy, blue screen of death.
So, but yeah, I think like if it were any other, maybe for like the skaters or the defensive players, um, the forwards, the power play units, maybe they're a little bit different. Maybe the way Carl wants to play the power play or wants the breakout to run might be a little bit different. Maybe he, uh, but I would assume that for the most part, other than maybe he wants the goaltenders to stop the puck behind the net a little more often, or he gives them the freedom to make the pass up the ice a little more. Um, but for them, I do think that the biggest adjustment is just going to be the shots coming at them from potentially a different talent level of player um, than what they're used to seeing, or the play in front of them might be a little bit different. The European style is a little bit different than the North American style. They're maybe a little more pass heavy versus carry up. Um, Things of that nature, maybe.
So there are some guys. I was looking through the rosters as I was watching the semis with my brother, and there are some guys from the other countries that play in the AHL. But my thought is, as a goalie, especially on breakouts, you get to playing with your team and you know what your defensemen are going to do. Like, this is how they're going to play it. You know their tendencies. And now all of a sudden, you're playing with different guys that might have a different play style on whether they push a guy wide, whether they stay in the middle. I mean, a lot of guys tend to play the same way, but as a goalie, you tend to know what your teammates are gonna do, and it's like, okay, um, Pionk is gonna do this for UMD, or Kleber's gonna do this. This is how he's gonna play it. I know this. All of a sudden, completely different. You have to get to know these guys. You know them for a couple weeks, you get into that play style, and all of a sudden you have to remember what your teammates do. Now, do I think it's going to take that long to get back into it? Probably not, but it's still kind of an interesting question just to ask. Like, yeah, you get this quote unquote all-star team together. What's different playing with them versus like going from your team to them and then from them back to your team
But I think
for
he's also
goalies or
made,
skaters?
and I think the goalies have, well, at least, yeah, probably both goalies have made this transition before. This being Augustine's second World Juniors tournament, but also like Hampton played for Team USA as part of the development team while he was still playing in the USHL. So I'm sure he's made this transition a couple times. So
Well, so then he would have played for the U18 instead of the U20 or
yeah,
whatever the
yeah,
juniors are. Because yeah, the development team,
he's
I
been with a Team USA before and made that transition from his team to Team USA back to his team.
I
And really the start of the college hockey season, like yeah, you get some practices at the beginning of the year, but that first exhibition week is the first time you're seeing guys in game, uh, full go, outside of maybe you have a scrimmage at practice, but even that's still not necessarily the same. It might be enough to gain some tendencies, but that flip of the switch to from practice to game is rather immediate in college hockey, in college sports in general. But
I'm gonna go like complete 180 from the topic, but off of something that you said. The national development team, I hate that they call themselves that when they are just a USHL team. They're like, oh, we're the USA, we're Team USA. No, you're not. You're a USHL team that is the same as the Fargo Force, the Sioux Falls Stampede. You all play on the same level, but they're like, oh, we were USA. And it's like, you guys are in the same level. And I don't even know the last time the development team actually won their championship.
I wouldn't knew.
But that's something that bugs me,
Wait,
and no fault of your own because they are Team USA in a sense, but they're the development team. But even the team that's playing the U18s that are the exhibition games, it's not that same USHL team. I don't think. I could be wrong, but I don't think it's the same USHL team. I think it's well, actually, hang on. Let me pull it up because Arizona State just played them. Um, or not Arizona. Yeah, Arizona.
yeah,
Yeah,
Arizona
US.
State just played.
Yeah, it's the US national U18, so it's not even the USHL team.
Yeah,
So it's kind of
but no, Hampton played for who did you play for? The Fargo Force in the USHL was
yeah,
also part of one of the U.S.
prob
teams.
yeah, probably the U18 team because they
He was
have
literally like at their camp before coming over to Western.
yeah, because well, they have like a junior like they have their U18 um tournament that's obviously right below the World Juniors. So I'm not saying he's not playing at a high level, and he, like you said, he does have experience doing that. It's just kind of an interesting thought that I've had as
Hmm.
far as what are the differences because pro all-star games, other than baseball, they're really kind of just a sham. But like the Four Nations that's coming up here in what a month or so. Um, Team USA, Finland, Canada, and Sweden. These are all-star teams, but they're also trying. It's not that 3-on-3 for the fans,
Yeah,
make it entertaining. They're competing, or the Olympics. It's kind of a whole different style. So it's not just to the World Juniors players, it's to every player. Or they just screw around and get drunk in countries that they can legally drink in.
who knows? Um, so everybody who's let's see who's not playing. Western is the odd team out, which means everybody has a chance to catch them. Uh, there's a high
Oh,
probability they will not be the number one team in the conference after this weekend.
there was something that I was going to bring up after this past weekend as I was looking. CC getting swept by Augustana.
Oh, yep, yep. That is a thing that happened.
That one, I was listening. They just started Beyond the Pond, which is a radio show that they do kind of once fantasy football is done, hockey related, and they had the Mankato coach on, and they were talking about Augustana and just the CCHA and how no teams want to play CCHA teams because of their style. I thought that was a little bit off because they were like, oh, they're so rugged, they're so tough. Like Hockey East doesn't want to play them, NCHC doesn't want to play them. I'm like, okay, first of all, Pat,
Um,
you
the
you watched the Big
CCHA
Ten.
and the NCHC play all the time.
Yeah, it was like they were saying the CCHA was so more rugged and tough compared to the NCHC. And I was like, Pat Micheletti, he grew up half hour away from where I was. He's got his picture on the wall in the Gophers. He covers the Big Ten. I'm like, dude, you clearly have not watched enough of either conference. But then even the Mankato coach was like, yeah, we're more of a grinded out league. And I'm like, Do you guys not realize the other conference that makes up the majority of the teams that you play non-conference and how they play?
Literally, in like the first 3 weeks of the season, there was 8 series between the NCHC and the CCHA.
Yeah, it 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 it, it was just kind of ridiculous what I was hearing.
And literally, like, the NCHC just plays a better version of what the CCHA plays.
They do. And there's a reason St. Thomas is moving from the CCHA to the NCHC.
Like,
I,
and it's
I
been
mean,
that way.
I
And
mean,
they,
part of it is geographical,
yeah,
but
but they took teams when they created the NCHC. Okay, the CCHA plays a different style. The old CCHA plays a different style than what the Big Ten plays now. But I would say they took the big time grind them down teams of the WCHA and Western and Miami, who played a similar style in the old CCHA, and moved them all to the NCHC. And everybody who's played in the NCHC and has played against the Big Ten will tell you the same thing. The NCHC wants to go north and south, and they want to grind in the corners against the walls. And the Big Ten wants to get east west and make passes and stretch the ice horizontally and get everybody going and sliding back and forth and create lanes that way. From what I've seen of the CCHA in the series that they've played against the NCHC teams, is they try to get north south, they try to hang bodies, but for whatever reason, they gas out before the NCHC teams do. They just don't have the same stamina of doing it. And I don't know what that is. I don't know whether that's just because they're able to grind each other down quicker and one team can take advantage sooner or what. But the only time that like a team, I mean, the Michigan Tech team did a good job of holding Western in their end for like maybe 10 minutes, and it allowed them to get 2 goals and tie the game in the first game of the GLI.
well,
But Western had controlled the game till that point, and it was really more Western kind of putting themselves in danger, not getting out of their own zone, as opposed to being worn out or worn down by the pace of play.
it's the thing is too, you look at when the NCHC was formed, out of the top teams that were in that league, the only one that you lost was Minnesota because of the Big Ten.
Wisconsin.
They were okay at the time. Like you lost Wisconsin, they were in there. But I'm saying the NCHC,
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean,
when
of the
they
dominant
formed,
teams, it was Duluth was starting to get on a run. North Dakota was North Dakota. Denver was beginning to be the Denver that we see today. If they weren't already, I mean, they had the pedigree of being Denver, um, but they've
CC
definitely,
was still pretty good.
yeah. CC was a top team. Um,
St. Cloud, they were competitive. I
Omaha might have been the weakest of the bunch to come over from the WCHA, and that was because they were
right,
bouncing between the WCHA and the CCHA for a couple years.
right. And that's what I'm saying. It's you look at the conference as a whole, it's a lot of that WCHA and a lot of those top teams. Minnesota was really the only competitive team that left. And you're trying to say the CCHA is scaring these teams? No, they're they're not. Mankato was they've been the only CCHA team, which what the new CCHA is in their second or third year.
Third
I
or
want to say
fourth?
third. I want to say third
I want to say third too, because I think their first year was the controversial year, and that was
with um
the
that
overtime goal.
overtime, yeah, in Mankato.
Let's see.
But regardless, Mankato, but between the old WCHA and the new CCHA, how because that one might have been WCHA still. It's kind of blurred. They kind of just renamed the conference.
Yeah.
Uh,
They've had a commissioner
Mankato's
since
the only team that's
2020.
been kind of scary. None of the others, St. Thomas now they've started to prove that they can be competitive, and they're like, hey, let's move to the NCHC. Yes, it makes more sense geographically. Um, we only had Bemidji and Mankato. Now we have UMD, St. Cloud, North Dakota, Omaha that are all within a reasonable range, and it's more competitive. I just don't understand that argument that the CCHA is scaring teams.
2021,
Mankato's the only
2022
one.
was their first season as the new NCHC or new
So
CCHC. So this is their third
21,
year.
22. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That makes
No,
sense.
fourth year. 21, 22, 22, 23, 23, 24, 24, 25. This is their fourth season.
Fourth year. Okay. But even so, you look at the teams there, Mankato, they're they're better than they're better sooner than I think what most people thought after Hastings went to Wisconsin. Uh Tech, they're always pretty competitive. Bemidji State, they're fairly competitive. Augustana is making a name for themselves, but they weren't even in the conference a couple of years ago. Um, St. Thomas is leaving. Ferris, eh. Lake Superior, eh. Like, there's just not a lot of teams that put any dread in me. Even even with UMD being as bad as they are, like, well, we just split with Bemidji, and I don't know. I haven't looked at the CHA, but I'm assuming Bemidji's closer to the top. St. Cloud, they swept St. Thomas this year in a weird split series. Like, there's just nothing about the CCHA that scares me for any of these teams except for Miami because, well, I mean, you and I could probably go out and beat Miami for how bad they are.
Is this the year where Augustana's not playing a full CCHA schedule? Is that what it is?
Um,
Because they're currently they have 16 conference points in 8 games played, but they're the only conference team that's played 8 games. Everybody else has played 12.
um, let's see. I just pulled them up.
And technically,
Uh,
because they have them listed in second, but they should technically be because of the games behind or games played. But Minnesota State has 28 points, 9 1 and 2 in the conference. Michigan Tech is
uh,
7 3 and 2 in the conference, and Bowling Green is 6 4 and 2 in conference. And those would be uh, Michigan Tech and Bowling Green each have 23 points.
I don't wonder if they're going through the same thing that St. Thomas has gone through with not being eligible. So they just kind of scheduled randomly. Um, because they split with St. Thomas, they split with Bemidji, split with Ferris, swept Northern, and then they had Fairbanks and Anchorage. They
So
did a whole
they don't play this weekend.
Alaska,
We
swept
have
CC,
Lindenwood.
and then Bowling Green, Lake Superior, Mankato, Tech, and then they finish with Fairbanks.
All right. Can you get your stuff together? Oh, you probably copy and pasted. Wait, what? What?
But yet they're
Their schedule is so messed up. CCHA, get your shit together. Your website's fucked.
but they still have I'm just on Augustana's site. But they still have the Mason Cup playoffs. But
I don't know. Maybe they're gonna play 4 games at the end of the season.
well, they finished with Fairbanks, so I don't know. But I'm thinking it's kind of like um
Yeah, they don't play the last week of the season.
I'm thinking it's kind of like a St. Thomas situation where regardless, even if they were to win the conference, they're still not eligible yet for postseason play as far as the NCAA is concerned.
I don't know.
Because I know last year, even if St. Thomas would have, I think they
One,
got
the
knocked out in the
runner-up was gonna
semis.
get the automatic bid.
Yeah, they were not going to get the playoffs, which I think is complete BS.
Yeah, they would have been the conference champion, but they would not have been in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, and Don Lucia, the commissioner,
Was
he
also
said
well,
he said he's like, if you win the conference championship, you should be in regardless. Like
yeah, but then
you're
I
the
think
best
he
team.
walked. I think he also walked it back once it was announced that St. Thomas was leaving the CCHA, coming to the NCHC,
Well,
because he made another comment about uh about that. I think
yeah,
it
because
was a little less
when
positive.
he said that that was prior to the announcement.
Yeah,
Um, and I don't think he's particularly happy about that. I wouldn't be as a commissioner uh either for a team to join your conference and then only to leave a few years after joining.
yeah.
Uh, at the same time, A, what are you doing becoming a commissioner of this conference when you're an established hockey personality? I don't want to use personality in that sense of like an announcer, but a well-known member of the hockey community. What are you doing that? And then two, why do you think anybody wants to stay in the CCHA when you have Ferris and Lake Superior State?
Hey, Ferris
That
was a
that's
good
like,
team like 10 years ago. Okay, Ferris made it to the Frozen Four.
yeah, it was them and Union were the two. It was like Union, Ferris, Minnesota, and I want to say like Michigan or somebody. Uh, but it,
And to be fair,
it,
right now Western has Miami, or the NCHC has Miami,
and they have UMD.
who's been about as good
I mean,
as
hey, we're six
Lake
points
Superior
clear of
State.
Miami. We're 6 points clear of Miami.
Yeah, I'm
Fine.
not. I'm not saying you're not.
But
Just saying, like
I
every conference has their Miami.
I think Lucia being as upset as he's become, I question his judgment in a sense because I view the CCHA, the commissioner position, as more of an up and comer, kind of like the ECAC or Atlantic Hockey. This is getting your foot in the door, see what you can do, get a try to build a conference. If you can't, at least your name's out there. Lucia is a two-time national champion at least with Minnesota. He was the coach for a while in the state. I think he had good intentions,
You should.
but
You should
he's taking it more personally than he needs to,
you should
and
message
and
Paul
not
about it
realizing,
and ask him
huh?
about it. You said you should message Paul about it and ask him about it. He can
About
about this
Lucia.
about Lucia and the CCHA. I'm sure he could tell you some stuff. He's got some opinions about that.
He's got opinions about a lot of
A couple
things.
times it's come up. Yeah, but let's look ahead to this weekend, and then we'll wrap this bad boy up. Like I said, Western's sitting idle this week, so North Dakota, Arizona State, even St. Cloud, um, have a decent chance of leapfrogging Western for the time being. Colorado College could at most tie them if they're able to sweep Omaha. So really, as a Western fan, I guess I'm pulling for Duluth, Omaha. I mean, Miami, Denver doesn't even really matter right now. I don't think. Yeah, no. So
Yeah,
that
because either way, Denver can't jump you.
no, Denver can just tie North Dakota if North Dakota loses both games, but that would put Arizona State ahead of Western.
Hmm.
And then uh, Colorado College at Omaha. I guess I'm rooting for Omaha there. Yeah, I mean that one again doesn't really super duper matter to me, but Western will have two games in hand, so they'll be able to kind of get back into it as long as if they can take care of business against North Dakota, which they'll have to do. So, um, I mean, I guess maybe I'm hoping for just like a split or one of those. What are they? What are people calling them? Sweep split. The overtime win and the reg
The
win for
extra point.
Arizona State.
Yeah.
That way, North Dakota only gets like one win or 1 point.
I think.
Ooh, actually, I think the most helpful thing would be there'd be a three-way tie if Arizona State wins one game and North Dakota wins in overtime. Western North Dakota and Arizona State would all be tied at 19 points going into next weekend. So that's what we wanted. That's I guess best case scenario if you're a Western fan is those three teams just bunched up there at 19 points, and then
And
Duluth needs
then
to get at least a win hosting St. Cloud.
yeah, and I think it is possible. For whatever reasons, I've had issues with my NCHC stream. Um, so when St. Cloud's at home, they're on local television here that I can usually pick that one up. They haven't really impressed me. Um, they're from what I've seen, they are better than my Bulldogs, but I don't think by a whole lot. So I think there's a chance that we can steal one of them. Um, I I think I would maybe bet a quarter on that, but I'm still saying there's a chance, and the student should be back-ish.
Oh, they should definitely be back. I think they should have gotten back like yesterday,
I don't know. I
depending on how weird your the school schedule is. But I think the normal thing, at least like usually they go back the same time that like primary schools go back, and I think normal public schooling went back on Monday. So
I
I
don't
think
know.
I think Western went back to class on Monday.
I was always back a little early for tennis, so I didn't actually know when my roommates were getting back.
But I mean it's a rivalry series. Those two teams always play each other hard. They've played each other hard the last few years. Um,
Yeah, it's kind of one of those where I hate the saying, but it is true. You kind of throw the records out the window
yeah,
because you never know what's going to happen. Uh,
and I mean like teams have gotten to St. Cloud State this year.
yeah, I like I said,
And Bosch
I'm
has
not
not been
I'm not
untouchable.
impressed by them.
Uh,
It's not like the last couple years where
and Oh, they had that game. They had one game against St. Thomas.
If the St. Cloud team from the last couple years would be this year, I think they're tied or a point or two in front or behind of Western because they were that good. It's just the fact that North Dakota had a really good year last year. Denver's had two, well, I mean, going back to 2017, they've had just really, really, really good teams. St. Cloud's been right up there, but this team just feels different from what I've seen, and they're not as talented. They make a lot more mistakes than the previous teams.
St. Cloud finished fourth, third.
Fifth and fourth, I know the last couple years.
They're fourth.
Or no, fourth and fourth.
Yeah,
Because
nothing above third since 2020.
but I mean they've made the Frozen Face Off Championship. Um
They won one.
uh, yeah, I think it was at the one they won and then at the one they lost. Uh so I've seen plenty of St. Cloud hockey, and like I was saying, this team just doesn't, they're not as good. They just aren't watching them.
Hmm. Western has the best overall winning percentage in the conference right now. 13-4-1 with a 7.78 win percentage. Denver is second at 15-5 with a 7.5 save win percentage.
But Western didn't lose to a club hockey team.
This is true.
I just like
Miami
how
has a
Miami has 1 point.
.25. Oh, Miami. You have a .25 win percentage. But also this weekend starts the CBS Sports Network coverage. The first game will be North Dakota at Arizona State. I mean, you can't count Arizona State out. They swept Denver when Denver was number one, and that was in Denver. I mean, if you're looking for a statement win, that series was definitely it for Arizona
Hmm.
State. Something to hang your hat on. I think Arizona State beat North Dakota last year in their one game. Was it last year or the year before? Recently, in Vegas for that one game Hockey Hall of Fame game or whatever it was. Um, so I wouldn't count Arizona State out. They've been playing really well, and like I said, I guess for Western, the best thing that can happen is Arizona State win one, North Dakota win one in overtime, which
It,
honestly could legitimately happen.
and I think other than that Denver Miami series, I think this is the, because you're always going to have, unless Miami's off, you're always going to have somebody playing Miami.
Yeah.
I think this is a really perfect way to come out of the break and get back going in conference play. You have the rivalry series with UMD and St. Cloud. You have a solid Omaha team against a solid Colorado College team who's
I mean,
probably a little bit,
both teams have been
they're
kind of
probably
up
a
and
little
down.
pissed up. They're pissed off that they got swept by Augustana. You know
Yeah.
they are.
Omaha's
Uh,
definitely on the way back up, but they've had some downs this year.
yeah,
Um,
I mean they beat Minnesota and they've lost some bad games. Like Lowell, I in their Cactus, whatever it was in Cactus Classic, losing in the championship to Lowell. Lowell's not a bad team, but they split with UMD, so
Omaha lost to
they're
Holy
not
Cross
great.
in the Cactus Cup.
No, they beat Holy Cross, they lost to Lowell.
Oh, yep, you're right. I read the wrong ones.
Yep. So and like I was saying, Lowell, they split with UMD.
I mean,
Decent team, sure.
I mean,
Good
Lowell
team,
was what, a Final
eh.
Four team a couple years ago.
Yeah. Say like
The year,
3 years ago.
yeah, I think it's the year before Quinnipiac won it. I think. Yeah, I think it was the first year that Denver won it. I think they were a Frozen Four team.
Yeah.
Like they might
Yeah,
have
three
lost. They
years
might
ago
have
is the
lost to Denver in the semifinals.
yeah, because I think they beat who'd they beat? I was watching that game.
Wasn't it Denver, Michigan in the final that year? No, maybe.
No, because Michigan didn't win it.
No, Denver won because Denver got 9 and 10 in the last 2 years or 3 years.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. But anyway, like I was saying, uh, so yeah, Omaha, they've had their ups and downs, but I think that's gonna be a close series. Um, UMD St. Cloud, just the past, them knowing each other, and then Arizona State with how they're playing, North Dakota with how they're playing. I think that'll be really entertaining to watch.
Also,
Don't don't
North
even
Dakota.
bother Denver, Miami.
North Dakota has uh Septenfelter, who is the former Arizona State goalie.
That is true.
So that would be an interesting storyline to see how he holds up against his former team, or if his former team can sneak some pucks past him like they did in practice. Um, and I mean, maybe. Did you freeze? What are you doing? No, you're moving. I think.
No,
Oh, there you go. You were just sitting very still for a second, and then with my luck, the way my crap went down, I figured out it's your turn. Uh, but yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe Miami got some well deserved rest. Maybe they will get some practice in. I think I want to. They might be. Did they? I don't think they played over the break. I think they had a
I don't think they
legitimately
did.
long break.
I'm pretty sure they did.
Their
Because as I
last,
was looking through things, I did not see their name pop up.
yeah, their last game was Saturday, December 7th. So they've legit had a full month off.
A day that will live in infamy.
So yeah, this will be their first game, or their first ice time,
Oh
or
boy.
game time since December 7th. And it's Denver, who's probably not in very much of a good mood either. And, well, a couple guys from Denver will be in a decent mood. And they did split with Maine, so maybe they're not going to be as
And
pissy as they would have been if it had been the series directly after losing to UNLV. But
I think from what I've heard, Maine is a pretty good team this year. They've kind of been back on the rise. Um, but yeah, the kids that play for Miami, they can say they played D1 hockey. It's kind of how the the one kid that my dad coached that plays basketball for the Gophers. They're so bad, but he can say he played in Big Ten basketball, which is now the Big 37.
yeah, maybe we just trade Miami for St. Thomas. We just give Miami back to the CCHA. We just keep St. Thomas and just keep it at 9 teams. We don't really need 10 teams, do we?
I mean,
Let's
no,
just get rid of one of the founding member teams. Uh,
uh, not a bad idea.
yeah, because
We'll trade Miami. We'll trade Miami. Um, and apparently Kevin O'Connell. We'll send them to the CCHA, even though KOC coaches a completely different sport, and we'll take St. Thomas.
I think if I remember right, Western Michigan was a late addition to the eight, but Miami was one of the original. Yeah, St. Cloud and Western were the late ads. Colorado
Hmm.
College, Denver, Miami, Minnesota Duluth, Omaha, and North Dakota got together and wanted to link up because of the the falling of the old CCHA with the creation of the Big Ten. So,
Yeah, still not happy about that, but I think we've talked about it, and they had to.
yeah, I mean, whatever, they can just go be their Big Seven hockey conference and their Big 86 football conference and their mid 73 basketball conference or whatever the hell it is. I don't even know if some of those teams. I think some of those teams only joined for football.
No, all of them joined
Oh, are they
for.
all
Yep,
sport conference now?
yep.
So there's 16 for football and basketball. I think it is
18.
18. So dumb.
Yep. At some point, anybody above a first grade education should be like, hey, 18's more than 10. We should probably change the name of the conference.
Well, to what the big across the well, there's the Big 12 is still out there somewhere with like 10 teams or 5 teams, whatever the hell it is.
Two.
That's the
Or
Pac
no,
12.
no, no, that's the Pac-12.
The Pac 2.
The Pac-2. I just
I think the Big 12 does have 12 teams, but it's definitely not anywhere near like I think West Virginia's in the Big 12. That
well,
used to be like the Great Plains Conference, really. It was like
and Northern
Oklahoma,
Illinois,
Texas wants to go to
Northern
the Mountain West.
yeah, Northern Illinois is going Mountain West, and it's like, oh yes, the great mountains of
Northern Illinois
Northern Illinois.
on the coast of Lake Michigan, them giant fucking mountains.
I they're not That's the thing. It's like they're not gonna change it. And for me, I'm a very stubborn person. The theme park at Mall of America, I think it's Nickelodeon Universe unless it's changed again, but it's always gonna be Camp Snoopy to me. The Big Ten, they should have changed it when they added
When they became the Big
Rutgers
11 or the
and
Big 12,
yeah, when
and
they
all they
became the
did,
Big 12.
and they changed their little logo.
Now you're the Big 18. Just somebody
You remember
go to the commissioner.
when it was 2 words and it was Big 10, the 11 was hidden on either side of the T. And then they
Yep.
went to the one where it is now, where the I is the 1 and the G is essentially the 0, but
Yep.
I don't know, it's all dumb. All right, well, we're gonna wrap this one up. It's in 2 parts because my computer hates me. But you know, do the YouTubey things if you feel like it. If not, cool, whatever. There's some, you can get a hold of us on some spaces and places and things, and I've mentioned them before. I think they're still in the description below. Maybe I don't. If you got good eyesight, Twitter handles are below our pictures. You can hit them up. And yep, I'm still gonna call it Twitter. I don't care. I'm gonna be like Mike and his Camp Snoopy, but my Camp Snoopy is Twitter. It'll always be
Hey,
Twitter.
I still call it Twitter.
So, I think that's everything that needs to be said, other than Pucks.net, good things happen like goal horns and fight songs. So until the next episode, we're gone. Bye. That's the wrong button. Bye.